Hi.
Muted. Are we ready to let people in? No wonder nobody responded.
I think we're ready. Candace, you already started recording, right? Okay, cool. And I'll just take the lead, or Ashley, do you want to introduce?
No, go for it. All you. I'm just here to support.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and admit. Okay, you're doing it. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm going to go ahead and start pinning our alumni so that everybody can see their beautiful faces. And I'll give us a few more minutes for everybody to kind of come trickling in, and then we'll get started. Oops. Let's see, are we missing anybody? Okay, awesome. I think we have all of our alumni here. So we can go ahead and get started. All right, so welcome to the Alumni Q&A. I'm so excited for all of you to be here. Let's go ahead and start with the Alumni Introduction. So if you wouldn't mind, alumni, just take a moment to introduce yourself to the participants on the call. Let us know your name, your cohort, your military affiliation, and anything else you'd like to share, and then we'll get into the real questions. So Anne, why don't you start, and then we'll go Janae, Randy, Maurice, Kristen, Vince, MK.
Hello, I'm Ann. I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, cohort 6. I served in the Army for 14 years and then medically retired in 2018. And I did I graduated from Dog Tag Bakery in the November right before I retired from the military.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janae Coleman, and I also reside in Northern Virginia out in Chantilly. I am a part of cohort 13 and was medically discharged from the Army. And yeah, glad to be here, and welcome, everyone.
Hey everybody, Randy Johnson. I'm not in the Northern Virginia area. I'm part of cohort 14. I'm actually in the Huntsville, Alabama area. And Army background, dog tag was just an awesome experience. So glad to be here and glad to answer whatever questions we could have.
Hey everybody, I'm Maurice Sloane. I live in Tampa, Florida. I was part of Lucky cohort Lucky 13 last year. Medically retired from the Army after just under 14 years in 2013, worked for the federal government after that, and then found dog tag last year. So good to see everybody.
Hello, I'm Kristen Sumner. I'm also part of cohort 14. I'm the spouse of an Army veteran and found dog tag through him. So I'm really excited to be here. So yeah.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Vince Loran. I break the mold. I'm Air Force retired after 21 years. I reside in Orlando area, close to Maurice, up the street from him, Florida. Cohort 5 did it back in 17. Since then, I opened my own business, leadership consulting and development. So Ignite RPM. Just excited to be here and always share opportunities with the newcomers. So welcome, everyone. MK, take it away.
Hi guys, this is MK. I'm hailing you guys from New Hampshire. I'm cohort C12 and just living life up here. Hiking, lots of hiking.
Awesome, thank you guys. And MK, I know that you have to leave us a little bit early today. So I'll be sure to give you a proper thank you at 4:40. But before that, if everybody could share, what did you do right after the program and what are you doing now? So Anne, let's start with you and we'll do the same format.
Sure. When I graduated the program, I still had about 6 months left in the military. I retired and really what the program helped me realize, I went into the program with a plan to harvest honey, raise bees, and have a biscuit baking business. And what the program helped me realize was come to terms with my medical limitations. I have nerve damage, some pretty substantial things. And so the plan I had was not feasible practically. But what Dog Tag did was they actually kind of did an intervention. The CEO, Megan, sat me down and said, look, we've tried to make all these adaptations in the kitchen and all these things. It's not working. I was overheating and in and out of the walk-in freezer. And they kind of said, look, they broke it to me as like gracefully as possible, but they said like, this is not feasible. But what you can do, we've seen you be very good at is writing and listening and mentoring. And they really gave me the permission to pursue those outlets. So what I've done since leaving the program and retiring is really focusing on my wellness. I write prolifically. I'm not, focused too much on publishing, but I participate in a lot of local veteran arts programs. I do a lot of mentoring at Walter Reed for service members going through the medical board process. I continue to mentor as part of Dog Tag's program. It's a fantastic mentoring program they have lined up, an alumni program. And I really just, I'm kind of, I don't have any children. I don't have any debt. I don't have to really expose myself to the pressure of employment that's not ideal for me, to pay the bills. So Dog Tag really, when they say that they want you to pursue what's best for you, they're not looking for a cookie cutter answer. Like they really give you the latitude to explore things that that are unconventional. So that's what I do. I'm focused on wellness, writing, and mentoring.
That's awesome, Anne. And so, yes, since the program, I just finished the program, was it May, June of last year? So since that time frame, I've actually had to take a step back from life for a bit to take care of my personal health, as far as mental health and physical health. And I was finally cleared for surgery in the fall. So once we finally got that taken care of, I didn't really stop with Dog Tag. I just kind of slowed back, but I stayed connected through these mediums, and I stayed connected with Lisa and also with a few other folks on Dog Tag's team, just to kind of keep my mind fresh and keep my pitch in the front of my mind. And basically what I am pursuing and what I'm continuing to do is doing Dressing for Success classes for transitioning service members, spouses, and caregivers. And so I actually did my first class last month, fresh out of my brace. So thank you. And it was a little awkward, but I think it was the boost that I needed, and having that connection the entire time kept me grounded and helped me to realize that I still have purpose. Still meeting with mentors like Vince. I have another mentor with another lady from a prior cohort. So I would say that even though, it took a while for me to kind of find my way back, but I'm in a much better place mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you name it. I'm back and I'm ready. So
Yeah, so mine kind of blends. I just graduated from dog tag in November, so I don't have a whole lot of separation between right after dog tag and right now. So basically, I harass my partners relatively often with lots of great ideas that I developed about business. So I have two other partners who are like, oh my goodness, why did you do a business fellowship? And come up with all these great ideas to run at us during meetings. So that's a lot of fun. But our business is expanding. So I've really actually enjoyed that part of 2022. I also explored some ideas while I was in dog tag with some nonprofit stuff and actually became part of the mentee relationship and kind of following up. It's been really awesome. I met with my mentor the first time. He said, hey, try these 3 things if you really want to explore this. So I said, good idea. So I'm volunteering at a local community sort of housing project kind of thing to start exploring that. Just doing a couple things that dog tag recommended. So, I'm kind of in that now just graduated space, but super excited and really thankful for the dog tag experience and kind of all the different ideas. And also would say stayed fairly connected to our cohort. We text each other relatively often with some different ideas, and people have actually helped me in my business, their businesses. So it's been super helpful too, just to stay connected. So three good things in the now and just graduated category.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So I came to dog tag, and initially my plan was to do a food truck and also start a nonprofit. I kind of pivoted away from the food truck, but I'm still working on a nonprofit, and I think I finally got the board members that I was looking for, and I'm really excited about that. But in addition, I will say I think dog tag turned me into a serial entrepreneur because I was always one of those people who always ask the questions like, why are we doing it this way and how can we do it better? So after graduating in May, in June, we started our own consulting business. So we do HR and healthcare management consulting. It's done surprisingly fairly well with no advertisement, no website, just pretty much word of mouth. My wife has done it more than I have. I was kind of like a part-time helper, did a couple of jobs because I went back to school in September to become a certified personal trainer. So now next week, we're going to be doing a massive launch of the business. So I'm excited about that. And then in probably more realistically, April, I'm going to launch the personal training and meal prep business. So what I'll say about dog tag, it helped me formulate ideas, but also let me figure out what my passions were and then create a pathway to get to those passions. So now I have all these different ideas of different businesses. So I think I got to kind of reel myself in at times to stay focused on one thing at a time. But amazing experience, very helpful. I honestly don't know where I would be had I not found the program.
Hi, so I graduated in May of last year. Wow, that's weird to say. It's not, already been that long. So initially I came out with an idea for a health and wellness coaching business geared towards women in our military and veteran community who are trying to get pregnant, postpartum, or are pregnant. And I am starting a health and wellness certification through Georgetown actually next month, but I am working with Gabby Bell at Organized Q. I think she's cohort 8 with dog tag. Loving every second of that. And so a lot of the skills that we were taught and that I learned throughout dog tag have actually been amazing in my job, little things that I didn't think that I would be using. Like I didn't plan on making bakery boxes, but I have a client who does corporate boxes. So, it's all really cool how everything I learned ties into what I'm doing now. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. And I'm excited to see where my health and wellness coaching certification and then ultimately business one day goes. Yeah. And I do stay relatively involved with dog tag. I think this community is absolutely amazing and very, very supportive. So I've been very grateful and thankful for that.
You're going to be an awesome coach, Kristen. I know that.
Thanks.
Vince Loran again, graduated back in June of 17. So it's been a little while. I gravitated to coaching through dog tag, and I went through Georgetown to do the leadership coaching certification. I started my business in 2019 here in Florida, and it's doing well. I have a leadership podcast as well with another veteran doing that. I'm also nominated as LLS Man of the Year. So the grass doesn't grow too much underneath my feet. I'm always busy, but this is a great incubator. Every ingredient for success is in there. It's up to you to pull out and extrapolate what you need from it, right? So it's all there for you. And as a testament to everyone on the call, I've spoken already, it is definitely keeps you proactive, keeps you engaged. This community is amazing. It's one of a kind, and I'm just honored to be part of it. And I continually give back to this community, and I'm looking forward to hopefully your journey and going forward. So best of luck to you all. And last but not least, Miss MK.
Thanks, Vince. Been pretty busy after dog tag. I think dog tag kind of got me going. After graduation, I continued the education piece and finishing up my business management degree here. This is my last semester. And then also have a side gig working for Starbucks because I want to open my own cafe. So I'm using Starbucks as a way to learn about the foods and coffee industry. And then I'm also building communities since I want to cater to hiking communities. So I'm winding my community through the hiking group, volunteering through different organizations, nonprofit, incorporating the hiking community and my Starbucks community into those nonprofit organizations. And then also after I graduate, I'm going into pastry school next and then a coffee school next. So I'm slowly but surely hitting my timeline on my business plan that I worked on through dog tag.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. I realized that I got so excited that I didn't introduce myself. I'm Sarah Abhisheka. I'm the alumni coordinator for Dog Tag. So I get the privilege of getting to work with our fellows from the point of becoming a prospective applicant all the way through being one of our Dog Tag alumni. So it's very exciting. And with that, I'm hoping that each of you can tell me a little bit about what your favorite part of the program was and why. So again, let's start off with Anne.
My favorite part of the program was, well, it's not fair to say right now because when I was in the program, it was on site live in the bakery, which is such a beautiful place and location. And it really feels like, if you can imagine in your home, in your imagination, like the ideal home kitchen that's what it's like. The way it's decorated, the energy in it. So that was my favorite part, having the opportunity to go there every day. Kind of connected to that is just the realization that as part of the program, there's so many people that come through and share their stories of entrepreneurship. And, if there's 100 entrepreneurs in a room, there's probably 150 stories about how they do what they do and, the path to success. And that was the most inspiring thing, was just to see kind of everybody's story and perseverance and creativity and innovation. And it restored my hope and my vision in a lot of things, because at the time my life was really crumbling around me. I mean, I was losing my career. My health was really not good at all. But probably the most influential story is that of Dog Tag itself and Father Curry. And if you've not had a chance to look up his story yet, I would encourage you to go to Google and type in Father Curry and, maybe Jesuit priest or Father Curry in 60 Minutes, where, here's a man who was born without an arm, was kind of doubted, not by himself, but by everybody around him in terms of what his capabilities were and people worrying about him. But something inside him just said, you know, I'm going to be able to leverage this for good. And he managed to be very compassionate. He started a theater program in New York City, then ended up coming to Walter Reed and ran the flagship program that I was then later a participant in for writing. And the Jesuits were telling him that he couldn't be a priest. He could only be a brother because you can't lift up the Eucharist, you know, with only one arm. Well, he was handling a case at Walter Reed and became very close with a service member there. And the service member had confided in him, and then finally comes to some point and says, I want to confess. I want to do a confession. And Father Curry said, I'm sorry, I'm a brother. I'm not a priest. I can't help you with that. You're going to have to go to a priest. Well, the guy had a meltdown over it. And Father Curry took that kind of as his marching orders to become a priest. That was the catalyst. And one thing led to another, and he wanted to turn the program that he had in New York, a theater program to help. It was a disabilities based, you know, if you're disabled, you could, you know, it was to teach theater to disabled people. And he wanted to do a similar transition program for folks, and the bakery was the model for that. And I love the fact that the bakery was built essentially from no more than a guy who had an idea and really a vision for wanting to do good in the world, leveraging what was seen as a disability or a disadvantage, and really use that to transform circumstances for so many people. And to know that I'm a part of that legacy, it really, on my worst day, and I still have hard days, but on my worst day, I think of that, and it gives me such a source of strength and just tenacity. And just one other little comment about the bakery is that it has an automatic door. And Father Curry was insistent that he wanted the bakery to be able to open by itself, the door. And they had to fight Georgetown because it's a historic district, and they wanted it to have a historical door. And Father Curry raised hell with Megan and said, we need it. I want people to be able to enter this bakery as easily as possible. So somehow they moved mountains, and that bakery has an automatic door. You walk up to it and the thing opens. And I love that.
That was a great recap, by the way, Anne. Awesome. So yes, the question, going back to what I think you were asking, the favorite part of the program. Favorite part of the program for me, I actually had to name my top 2 to 3. I couldn't really put my finger on one, but I would definitely say my top one, which was interesting because it was the most challenging portion, was finding your voice. I came into the program, you know, with a business concept that I'd already been working in and for the last few years. And so I was just thinking, okay, I'm just going to come in and just kind of brush up my current business. And why do I need to talk about my feelings? Like, I don't get it. But I realized that my feelings had everything to do with my business. And I realized that my customer is actually me. So that connection, and then kind of going through and having to relive and confront some things from my past during that class was powerful. It was not easy, but it was most certainly worth it. It made me more connected to my purpose, and I'm better for it. And the other thing was just the affiliations that I have now with and a better understanding of the military through military spouses' eyes. Those of you who know I've been on the last one, I always refer back to my friend Kristen right there. I mean, everybody's my friend, but that's my girl. That's you know, and my gosh, I have learned so much from her, which has been very even almost pivotal in the way that I want to service military spouses. So I would always encourage you to keep those connections because you never know how much they'll shape and hopefully further develop what you already have from someone else's point of view. So I would say those are my favorite points.
So I'll jump in. Unfortunately, my top two are exactly the two they just hit. So instead of rehashing that, certainly the stories are amazing. I mean, I just enjoyed that. And the finding your voice portion for me was really awesome. So I'll go to number three. And I think for me, that would have been really a lot of the interaction, frankly, with my cohort members was probably my favorite part. And just having to really process different ideas, and it was so good post-transition to the Army to have a collection of people who understood the military, but were coming from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different perspectives, to work on a wide range of topics, whether it was entrepreneur, finance, you just name it. And just having that exposure and working through it for me was really great. And it frankly got me outside my little circle world, even of my own business partners and even the world I was in at that point. Obviously, cohort 14, we were Zoom. So I didn't get the advantage of going in the bakery. I kind of missed that portion. And I'm a big bread fan, so it's a really bummer for me, but that's okay. Someday I'll get there. But, you know, even having that wide range across the country was really great for me. So that's really my highlight.
Yeah, a lot of similar sentiments. You know, number one, what I would say when we went through cohort 13, it was about a little bit over a year into the pandemic. So it was finding the community despite being in the pandemic. Living in the DC area at the time, I was in Arlington, everything was shut down. And you know, you're working off Zoom, you're living off Zoom, you're in the house. So finding the community despite all that was really, really big. And then the way the community was, because we learned and were exposed to everything you can imagine in the world of business. Even sometimes in the world of corporate America, just making assessments, you know, do I want to go into business or do I want to get into corporate America or vice versa? Like I'm a guy who came from corporate America, didn't want to do that anymore and wanted to go into business. And I really felt like I left Dog Tag with at least all the knowledge and the tools that I needed to have the confidence to take that step. I think I was somebody who always felt like he should own his own business, but just didn't have that confidence of going to do it. Despite all kinds of success on the corporate side, the way the world is structured, the way the educational system is structured, you're pretty much taught to be a worker. There's very rarely instances where you're taught to be an entrepreneur. And I feel like Dog Tag gave me that confidence to do that. And then the second, I have to echo finding your voice was the second one. As a person who came from the military where everything is about team and you're not ever taught to kind of talk about yourself, I thought that was groundbreaking for me. It was uplifting to be able to share my story and to know that there's power in your story because you're just not taught that. You're just always taught to put people before you. Don't really worry about yourself and it all work its way out. And going through that process of finding your voice, you get to learn to kind of like speak on yourself. And when you release certain things, it brings power back to you. So it was, like I said, life-changing. Somebody who was leaving the federal government, leaving a very, very prominent position. Just knew I couldn't do that anymore, but just didn't know where I was going. And Dog Tag definitely gave me the tools and the confidence for the next journey in my life.
Awesome, Maurice. Yeah, I mean, what everybody said, I mean, it's all, Dog Tag just offers a plethora of amazing things. What came to mind was community, and a family that I didn't think I was going to gain through the Dog Tag community and my fellows and the alumni. I would also say too, my self-confidence grew a lot. I can look back at even just those intro videos that we do, like, hey, say a little bit about yourself, you know, before you even start the cohort, and then seeing it after we've been at the 5 months. I saw a huge shift in just how I presented myself just on camera, and the confidence, the way that I held myself in a video was just night and day to me. And so I thought that was really cool. And then even as I've gotten through more, I mean, a little over a year out, I'm finding more things now that made, okay, well, with my current job, okay, well, wow, I didn't know I'd actually utilize that. Here I am, so I would definitely say community, and then just a family, and that sense of purpose, no matter what that is for me. Because my path's going to look very different from the next person, and just giving myself that grace. And failure is not a dirty word. That was one of the things I came out saying, is that, pick yourself back up. It's not the end. It's a learning point. And dog tag really helped to teach me that, and helped me just grow in confidence, just with the community of really great people that are there just to see you succeed, however that looks like for you.
And I think I'm going to echo everybody's sentiments. The favorite, we can make an ad right now about dog tag's favorite, and those are them, right? And I look at it this way, they give you the great tangibles, which are those from the business administration certificate, but what you get more than anything is the intangibles. And it's given at you through a variety of different places, through finding your voice, through the networking, going up the hill, or interview. So I can't pick one specific, but I'll share that I think the best thing I got from it is the proven power of being kind to myself, understanding that, and that gave me the confidence, that gave me the opportunity to go forward and break through those walls or the imposter syndrome. So again, it was those intangibles, the results, not the tangible, the paper you had from Georgetown, which was great, but the intangibles, because that's going to get you through thick and thin all throughout. So everything ditto what everybody said, but that I think is the important factor that I gleaned from the whole thing.
I would echo the same. The biggest for me, as I was transitioning from the military after 23 years, was that community. It was, I left after 23 years and then moving to a whole new state. It was pretty hard transition. So going into dog tag 6 months from retirement and having that community really helped me. And then after the program, just having them around just keeps me motivated and just keep me going to keep pursuing my business plan and business idea. And then also it enabled me to add more communities. It really gave me the confidence to reach out to other communities. I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you for sharing. MK, I know that you'll have to log off soon, so I'll actually have you kick us off with the next question. For a little bit of background, a major component of the program is the Capstone project. So that's where fellows are required to create a business plan and pitch it to business leaders in the community. So MK, I'm hoping you can kind of touch on what your experience was like with the Capstone, what the process was like, and how have you used it?
Oh, definitely. Prior to dog tag, I had a little bit of experience with a business plan, but not to the degree that dogs tag. I experienced with dog tag. So I started out with, I believe, 2-page business plan through a small business administration. It was a 6-week program, but I only got out of it about 2-page worth of it. But going through the program, that 2-page expanded to about 25-page. So it was really detailed, in depth, and I know what I was writing about versus just kind of scratching the surface. So I was really happy, and I was confident with the pitch and what funding I need and the things I need to get. And so it's been an eye-opening. It gives me a boost of confidence as well. And it kept me in line on my goals, because my timeline is set to what I'm comfortable with and the goals I set for myself. So that's been the biggest blessing, I guess, going through dog tag, was that business plan. It was a lot of work. I pivoted 2 weeks before it was due, but because I learned so much, I was able to change that business plan and make it work at the end.
Thank you, MK. I'll pass it over to Anne, and really quickly, just since I know you have to log off soon, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us, MK.
You're welcome. Always happy to be here.
The Capstone was a really interesting process for me, because like I said, when I was going through my interview process to for enrollment in the program, I had an idea of a business plan, and that was to raise bees and harvest honey and then do a biscuit baking business. And like I said, about a third to a halfway through the program, they did that intervention and everything kind of shifted. One of my colleagues in our cohort invited me to kind of get in on his capstone, and he runs a bookstore coffee shop concept. And so I was really grateful to have that invitation, and I did a lot of work in terms of developing his business plan, the research, all kinds of things. And it was really rewarding. We put together a masterpiece of a slide presentation, knocked it out of the park. And he then invited me to work with him. And it was a really humbling experience, but also kind of what I consider my first real business decision, where I had to kind of say to him, hey, thanks, I really appreciate it. But it's not really what I want to do. And I think that was a huge learning lesson for me, because I think when we want to do I think it's so important, whatever we decide to do, we've got to be all in on it. And I think I had a pattern before dog tag where I would kind of do whatever anybody said I was good at. You know, if they appreciated my help and my services, I'd be like, yeah, I'm 100% all in. And dog tag, I think it was part of that finding your voice and kind of having a little, a smorgasbord of like all these different things going on, and really having the encouragement to say, what is it that you want? You know, you've been serving your country, you know, kind of complying and conforming and performing. And, you know, I had to break through a lot of constructs of my, you know, being a good daughter, being a good partner, being a good, you know, whatever. And so that capstone really, in terms of the program, it was successful. Pitching it, and I got a lot of practice with that. But I think from a personal standpoint, the more important lesson for me was really kind of separating out, okay, what does somebody think I'm good at versus what is my heart really in on doing, you know? And he took it really well. He said, hey, no worries. You know, if you ever are looking for somebody to, you know, a place to be or something to do, my door is always open. And, you know, that it feels really good. So.
Yes, and so I would also say that the capstone experience was actually, going back to something that MK said, I had a business plan from my undergrad, which I completed a few years before coming into dog tag. So I was able to, during dog tag, kind of look at what I'd already done. And I didn't use any part of it, but I was able to kind of build upon what was already there, kind of clarify it more and dig deeper on it, actually put real numbers to it. And I realized that I was severely shortchanging myself. And I also was able to look at my business plan a different way, a different perspective, and actually see more of the potential that I didn't see before. So dog tag really helped me to just open up the possibilities and directions in which, you know, the legs basically that can grow from the business plan. And since dog tag, I've actually been able to use parts of it during different things. Like I said, I kind of had to take a step back for a short time to take care of myself. But there was a moment where I was helping a family member do grant writing. And again, like Kristen said, you know, I would have never thought I would have been donor, funder, what? No, yes, that was a lot of that during that grant writing process. So that really helped. And I noticed while I was doing that, that took me back to dog tag, which took me back to my business plan. I'm like, oh, this is how I can use this for my plan. So I started to kind of keep anything that I'm doing, also just kind of linking it back to my business plan. How can this work? What can I pull from this? It may be a small piece, but it can work over here, almost like a puzzle piece. And then even from that point, going from, I just started back to my graduate degree program in December, and there's a part of my business plan where I wanted to do research. Well, guess what? Boom, that's what we're going to do. So I was able to apply that there. And even with upcoming classes, like the one I just did and last month, pulled a piece from that. So I'm constantly shaping and looking and seeing how I can keep that that pitch active and keep it developing as I go along. I think I answered the question. All right.
And so Capstone for me was it was kind of a tough one. I came in as a partner in a business, but then I had another idea and I tried to balance them for about 3 weeks before, when the dog tag staff's like, hey, you have to pick one. So you actually have something to pitch, which was great. But I ended up pitching the actual business that I'm doing versus a couple of the other ideas. But that was really neat because I already had developed some stuff for my wife and I to work on this nonprofit idea. But in my business, really specific applications, actually, through the pitch process, I became way more value added to my actual business partners. I didn't know as much when I started Dog Tag. And all of a sudden I was coming in with a lot more ideas. It helped us reframe exactly what we're doing in 2022 to offer to our clients. So that was really important for us. Frankly, even some of the financial stuff was an area of weakness for me. And now, unfortunately, I think Dog Tag kind of brought me up to speed. So I've been doing more of our sort of bid process and how to process labor costs and all the stuff behind the scenes for when we make proposals to clients. I don't like that work, so I got to figure out how to not be good at it so that my other partners will take that on. But Dog Tag really enabled me in that. So I guess that's a thank you, but at the same time makes me nervous long term. But even our CFO, our chief financial officer of the company, came to me and was asking a lot of questions, and we reframed some stuff of how we're doing our finances to try to really maximize for the company. So lots of different pieces, very tangible for me, that came out of Capstone.
Yeah, what I would say about the capstone process, yeah, it was difficult, it's challenging. You're constantly pivoting and moving things around. But the thing that was extremely beneficial in my eyes is that it gives you a foundation for your business. It allows you to really, really understand your business, not only what you want to do, but how you're going to do it, what you need to do and operate it. And I'll say from personal experience, as someone who's been out in different spaces, talking to different groups of people, it's been invaluable having that capstone really laid out. Because you can pitch your idea for 60 seconds and they think they could think it's really good, but then they start asking other questions. And you need to be able to answer those other questions, because oftentimes that might be your one shot at a partnership. It might be your one shot for funding. I've learned that because we've applied to a couple grants and we're fingers crossed at the last stage of getting approved for some different business grants. And that capstone was really invaluable, because once you have it built and you have everything in there, you can just pull from it when you're doing these different applications. And you can really speak to your business. I remember I left Dog Tag and went to EBV, and that led to some other things. And I was at a conference and I was kind of pitching the business, and the gentleman came back and said, well, what do you need to go to the next level? Well, if I didn't have my capstone, if I didn't know what my operating budget is, if I didn't know the things that I didn't have already, I would have kind of been lost. And you see that a lot with people in business. Someone asks them, well, what do you need? And they really don't know what to say. They have no idea. Can I get back to you? But in the world we live in, when people have attention spans that aren't very long, that might be your one shot. So I would say that the capstone is invaluable because it's going to really let you know what you need for your business. And I've even seen people, in our cohort that did the capstone and realized, you know what, maybe I don't want to own a business. Maybe I want to do something else, or I just want to modify it in a way because the scale of it is too big. So that's what I really, really loved about it, because it let you really understand what your business was and what it was all required to be able to operate it.
Yeah, I would have to kind of piggyback off of that. It's given me the space to. I started. It was hard. It's a big project. You're putting a lot of heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears into this project. That is yours. And there was a lot of, for me, I pivoted a couple of times, and I really had a lot of help from my fellow fellows who kind of just helped speak a lot of life into me, you know, so I would say that I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that model, you know, when I do eventually start my business, but it has also really played a part in my current role, because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners. So I have an understanding of how a small business operates, the back end, you know, of how sausage is made, you know, and so I can understand where these entrepreneurs and small business owners are coming from better than I would have if I had not been through dog tag, which I love that part of it. Being able to help these small business owners has been really, really, really a fun part of my job. And I'm just excited to see kind of how I can continue to use what I learned through dog tag, through the Capstone project for my current position. And even as I start my own business, I have, since I graduated, I have blown past my timeline that I created my Capstone. I have not, you know, so give yourself grace, you know, that you might not stick to it exactly, but that's okay. That's yours. It's a living document. It's fluid, and just do what's best for you. And then you have that to fall back on. And I think that's what's really great about dog tag is it wasn't pressure one way or the other. It was just what do you dream big? What do you want? And they helped you narrow it down. They helped you find that. So I would have to say what's most important to me through the Capstone.
And I think for me, first, I'll say to those thinking about even applying, even if you don't have a business that you're thinking of doing or running or wanting a business, it's a great framework for your future in that endeavor that you never know you might come back to in the future. So go through the exercise, lean on your classmates, lean on the staff, lean on the alumni to just be creative to think about what to do at Capstone. And if you're also struggling what to do, because I don't have a business per se, that shouldn't hold you back. This framework, as you hear manifestation from everybody, it's great. I think for me, it added value to the person I was. What was my worth? What was my worth per hour? What was my worth and the value of in the services I'm doing? And it gave me the understanding of the power to say no, that because I can't do it all and I want to help everybody and please everybody, but the power of no. I think those are the two things that I got out of the, I think, intangibles that were more important than for me, understanding the framework that you can, as Janae and everyone said, you can pull off the shelf at any time. But don't go in this thinking you have to have a business. You can go in this just exploring anything you want to do and try it out, and then use that framework for anything in the future. So I'll say that.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. Before I open it up to the audience for questions, I also want to call out that we have Ashley Hearn, our DC program manager, with us on the call, as well as Candace Morris, who is our program coordinator for both the DC and Chicago fellowship programs. So they'll be able to hop in and answer any questions as well. But I'll go ahead and we can open it up. If anybody just wants to unmute and ask a question to the alumni, you can feel free.
Yeah, I have one. I've been listening to the positives of the program, but what were some of the challenges that you guys have faced during the program?
Well, I'll just speak cohort 13. I don't know, Ashley or Sarah, to tell me, were we the second cohort or the first or second that had to go virtual?
We went virtual halfway through 11.
Okay.
Yeah, so half of 11, 12, we kind of figured out some kinks, 13 figured out some more kinks. You know, it's a learning process.
Yeah, the challenge was just being virtual, but we made the best of it. We still pretty much did everything everyone else did in the program, despite except for going into the bakery. I would say that was the most challenging part, but I mean, it's work. But one thing I would say, I wouldn't say it's extremely challenging because you have help. You have your classmates, you have everybody in the dog tag staff that you can reach back to if you don't understand something, if you're not getting something. So as far as challenging, it's kind of really hard to say. And I know any program, you're like, oh, okay, it has to be something bad. There was nothing bad. I mean, there was just normal challenges that you had there, but you had support around you. I would say from my standpoint, I would have loved for it to be in person. We did our best to connect with each other despite it, but it would have been, I knew it would have been to another level if we could have been in the same room with each other every day.
On a jokingly, since I was in person like Ann was, the challenge of staying fit because that food was phenomenal, right? So that was one true challenge. And the fact of the matter is the challenge of commuting to the bakery was every time during the winter. That was hard. I was in Virginia, so there's some challenges there, but that's personal, right? I think the other one for me was the going through the phases of a team, the storming, norming, forming, everybody goes through them differently. And I got caught up in why is this person not pulling their weight, and they had their own story and I never asked them. And I felt victim of self, my own issues were really predicated by my own self. So I couldn't help them if I didn't really understand what they were going through. So everybody's in their own journey on their own time, Joe, as you are, and Amber and everybody else on this call. But the bottom line, everybody will get to the end together. So help each other, ask for help. If you have a challenge, the challenge is probably indicative of what you're doing to yourself. So just ask, be vulnerable. That's the courage behind the whole thing.
I would say the hardest part for me is there's really no challenges, but it was just closing that laptop at the end of graduation. It's just kind of that finite thing of, gosh, I can't hug anybody, but that's what's so beautiful about this community is that, once you become an alumni, you get those monthly alumni check-ins. You've got this community to fall back on and these people and this family. So that was just the hardest part for me, was saying, good, not goodbye, but just closing that laptop in the 5 months.
I think for me, it's kind of a little bit about what Vince was saying, the vulnerability part of it. Coming from a military where you're taught to not think about and almost disassociate from your feelings, having to reconnect, that was tough, and having to have kind of take that mask off, that was really challenging for me. However, I would say that in doing so, I started to realize the strength in vulnerability. That was one of the biggest things that I learned from being vulnerable. So I would say vulnerability, and also when it finished, I was like, man, I feel like I was in the Army just, for a little bit there, kind of was a great pick me up, but it kept me going. So.
I have a question for the alumni. What's the time commitment like for the program?
Yeah, I guess I could jump in. I mean, it's a pretty significant time commitment, right? Because you've got every day, roughly, I think 7 hours, if I remember correctly, 4 days a week. And then you do have homework that's on the side, depending on what projects. It does go up and down. But yeah, I definitely think there's a certain commitment there that's a pretty robust commitment every day. I will say the scheduling side of it, don't stress over that. That kind of just happens. At least Ashley tries to make it just happen for you. It just arrives on this nice Google Calendar. And as long as you can click in on the buttons, you can get to all the meetings for the Zoom folks. There's a little bit of a tiredness commitment. Zoom school, I feel like I probably didn't appreciate my kids going through Zoom school until I had to do Zoom school. And then I would get off and be like, why is my whole world continuing to move with faces everywhere? So you're a little tired afterwards, but it definitely is a full bore commitment, but very manageable. And I think we definitely had a couple people who had challenges throughout due to either illness or other things. And I would kind of give Dog Tech staff a pretty good bit of props on their ability to adjust, to know how to really respond to that. You don't normally get that in my experience in regular school life, or even frankly, obviously military life, in a way that the Dog Tech staff brings it. So, I would just kind of give them a kudos on that.
Hey, this is Ricardo. I just had a question on the following up on the challenges. Did anybody try to juggle like having a job part-time or full-time while doing this? I know it's not recommended, but that's one of my challenges, along with the commuting from Stafford, Virginia, all the way to DC.
It's actually what I was going to point to, not necessarily a job, but when I started the program, I was in my master's program. So it was like doing 2 master's programs at the same time. And oh my goodness, I'd say about halfway through, I realized, I can come back to this other one. And so I did end up letting it go about halfway through. And I was initially, I was a little bit disappointed in myself because I couldn't be a little hard on myself. But actually, I realized looking back on it, that was the best decision because then I was really, really able to commit and focus the latter part. I mean, I was committed before, but I had more time to really dig into it. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Thank you, Johnny. And one last thing, I know they talked about a stipend. Is that as soon as you start for 5 months, or how does that work?
I could jump in here on this one. So the stipend is $1,500 a month, and it comes in 2 payments of like $750 every 2 weeks, but it's on a delay, so like our staffing payroll is on a 2-week delay. So like your first check would come like 2 weeks after you start, if that makes sense, which is, I think, is pretty standard for most places.
Makes sense. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah, Ricardo, if you're familiar, it really is a 1099 independent contractor. I mean, that's what I mean. In some ways, it kind of feels weird when you sign the paperwork, but you're like, that's probably more the, like, and to answer your question about business, I did maintain my partnership in a business. I told them I was not going to have a lot of time. Then we signed a major contract about a week or 2 before DogTech started. And we were in a business merger at the time and had massive partner issues as part of it. So it can be a little difficult. I ended up having to punt some meetings to the evenings. That worked for me because my business is in Asia. So I did feel some stress at a couple of peak periods. But I gotta say, part of it is a lot of your project, you do some projects with teams. And frankly, when I kind of raised my hand and said, I'm stressed on this one, I had a team there to support me, not just the staff itself, but the actual cohort members. And so, I just kind of point that out that it's not like you're going to grad school by yourself and you're kind of flailing as an entity. You have a very strong cohort structure and a staff structure that's there in a supportive way, but it can be challenging. And I had to reduce my hours a little bit with the partnership just because, I was demanding of myself during the day.
And thanks, Randy.
One quick thing I would like to suggest about that too, right before I started the program, I actually opened up a business account. And so the money that I received from DogTag went into that business account to where I can allocate it towards professional development. So something I just pass on to anybody, as an idea.
Hi, thanks everyone for sharing all of your past experiences. I do have a question about what's one thing that you wish you knew that you weren't expecting before you went into the program?
I could say I wish I would have known about it sooner. Like I knew I was going to go into a program. I knew I was going to have these different fellows in the program with me, but I had no idea how broad and how far the reach of the DogTag network is. The different rooms that you'll be able to gain access to, the different levels of expertise that you'll get from all different industries that can help you in yours. Just hearing that valuable input from people who might be doing something completely different than what you want to do, but have great value in what you're doing. So I would definitely say that I had no idea, because I never heard of DogTag. So until I found out about the program, I had no idea how expansive that their reach was. So that was something I wish I would have known, because I probably would have came to the program a lot sooner. But everything happens in the right time, in the right way. But yeah, I had no idea the value in it. And then the commitment. I've been to a lot of different things, especially in the military, and you're kind of there and then you leave and then that's it. But when I say they stay connected with you, They give you every opportunity to stay connected with them. I didn't realize it was going to be that intensive in a great way.
I would say that's what's great about Dog Tag is they're very transparent. I mean, you know what the commitment is walking in. And so I think I just wish I wouldn't have been so hard on myself, through some of the things. It's given myself a little bit more grace. But the program is really amazing. And, if you get a chance to apply, I really encourage you to, because like Maurice was saying, the reach is so much further than you think it would be. And even a year out, I know I'll continue to reap the benefits of things that I did not think I would reap.
I did not know the power of a 5-star notebook. They took me back to high school on that one. I mean, the information is coming quick. So I had to, go to Amazon really quickly, and I grabbed 2 of them, and it really helped me to stay organized. So yes, and then just if I could have done anything differently, I would have started collecting everyone's information in at the end of every learning lab to send out emails and to build that network rather quickly. I kind of caught on about almost halfway through. But yes, organization definitely is key.
Are the program dates typically from from April, I think it was like April to like November, or is it changed by the year?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one again. So program dates are pretty standard. So we meet starting like mid-January, and it goes until like the week before Memorial Day, so the end of May. And then the summer cohort, that's winter. Summer starts mid-July, so after 4th of July holiday, and ends the week before Thanksgiving. So we're trying to avoid most of the major holidays, so that people don't have to worry about navigating that.
Thank you.
I think we had one question in the chat, and I think that'll close us out for this evening. Jalil asked if there's a syllabus or a breakdown of the program, and Ashley, I was wondering if you could kind of speak to that, and I'll also put a link to our website in the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jalil, if you were not able to join, definitely, do you want to put a link to the info webinar too? So we did an info webinar a couple weeks ago. So my colleague Justin facilitated that, and it really went through a good breakdown of the program. So I'll say there are 5 major components. So one is the education component. So if you're applying for the DC program, we partner with Georgetown University. If you're applying for Chicago, we partner with Loyola University Chicago. And then there is also the hands-on learning. So that is the case studies, the rotations in the bakery, where you get that opportunity to work with our team looking at the ins and outs of how you actually run a small business. We have our learning labs, which is where we bring in external partners to speak about either their experience as an entrepreneur or, just different skills, resources that are important to be aware of as you're going into the business world. There's the capstone component, which I think the alumni covered really well, where you come up with your own business plan and we walk you through the steps of writing a business plan. And that can be one that you have every intention of implementing, or it could be one where you're like, this would be really fun. I'm going to use this as a creative exercise, just depending on where you're at. And then the final component is the wellness piece. So we really focus on, I think, I can't remember who, maybe it was Bence was talking about the power of being able to say no, and not feeling like, what are your boundaries? What are your priorities? And being able to identify those and set wellness priorities along with those. So that's kind of the overview of the program. And all of those 5 things are happening every week. So it's all kind of going concurrently throughout the program. But definitely a lot more information in that info webinar that Sarah linked.
Excuse me. I'd like to just say thank you to the alumni, because I've actually had to pivot quite a bit in the last few months here. I had a service dog when I got out. Took a long time to get my next service dog. I decided to found a nonprofit specifically to help veterans go through the process of that. And recently I've started my business, and then of course I got an opportunity, and you guys just helped me with, the power to say no. So that would have been a great opportunity, but I really think this is a better opportunity. So I'm going to have to go back and say, got to take care of me. Sorry, I got to do what I need to do for me. So I just wanted to thank you guys for that.
Love to hear it. I'm so glad that we could have this alumni Q&A. Thank you so much to all of our alumni for being here. I will definitely echo Kira's remark. We so appreciate all of your insight. And I also want to say thank you to everybody for staying on for an additional 5 minutes. It means a lot. I'll go ahead and stop the recording now.